जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभाशिष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
May I now request Honorable President of India, Shri Ramnath Kovind ji, to light the ceremonial lamp and inaugurate the function. May I also request the dignitaries on the dais to participate in the lighting of the ceremonial lamp function. May I request Honorable Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, Shri M.B. Rajesh ji, to present a memento to the Honorable President of India. Thank you, sir. May I now invite Shri M.B. Rajesh ji, Honorable Speaker of the Kerala Legislative Assembly, to deliver the welcome address.
Honorable President of India, Shri Ramnath Kovind ji, Honorable Governor, Shri Arif Muhammad Khan, Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Pinarayi Vijayan, Honorable Leader of Opposition, Shri V.D. Satheeshan, Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry and Dairy Development, Srimati J. Chinjurani, Honorable Minister for Honorable Deputy Speaker, Shri Chittayam Gopakumar, and other distinguished guests on and off the dais. It is with profound pleasure and pride that I stand before this august gathering. The Kerala Legislative Assembly is privileged to host the first ever national conference of all women legislators of our country. This unique conference is being organized as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, on the occasion of 75 years of Indian independence. When the Government of India and Honorable Speaker of Lok Sabha requested state legislatures to commemorate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we wanted to celebrate this historic milestone in a befitting and meaningful manner. On the 10th of August 2021, the celebrations commenced with an inauguration by the Honorable Chief Minister Shri Pinarayi Vijayan. Since then, due to COVID-related restrictions, we may not have been able to pursue it in a grand manner as we would have liked. However, we decided to have this prestigious conference in a bid to evaluate the progress made by women in independent India in the last 7.5 decades, and to identify the challenges today and to have a clearer vision for the future. The freedom struggle was not fought by men alone. Women equally fought and sacrificed for the cause of freedom. There are many faces of known and unknown brave women in the history of our freedom struggle, right from the Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi to Captain Lakshmi of Kerala. They all fought for an independent India in which the fruits of freedom and progress would be shared among all sections of people, irrespective of gender, class, caste, religion, and region. This is the right time to evaluate the extent to which their aspirations have been fulfilled and how much more distance has to be traveled to accomplish the mission of freedom. We are proud to state that Kerala is a state which has made commendable progress in empowering women and in reducing gender gaps. Kerala's high social development indicators shows that women in the state have equally benefited from overall progress of our society. This is a result of social renaissance movements, effective policy interventions by various governments, and progressive legislations. Kerala has initiated many innovative experiments like Kudumbashree to empower women. Kerala is the first state to introduce 50% reservation for women in local bodies. Let me also tell you that currently, out of 14 districts, we have 10 women district collectors. Now, let me discharge my responsibility of welcoming our esteemed guests. When I personally went and met Honorable President of India to extend our invitations, your kind words of appreciation of this idea of Women Legislature Conference enthused us. Honorable President has travelled all the way from Delhi to Trivandrum to inaugurate this conference. Thank you very much for your inspiring presence here, and I extend a hearty welcome to Honorable President of India, Shri Ramnath Kovind ji. Honorable Governor's support and encouragement was also remarkable in organizing this conference. I offer a hearty welcome to Honorable Governor Shri Arif Muhammad Khan. Honorable Chief Minister Shri Pinarayi Vijayan has been with us since the beginning till this moment of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. I welcome you, Honorable Chief Minister. Honorable Leader of Opposition Shri V.D. Sadishan is here with us. I welcome Honorable Leader of Opposition. Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry and Dairy Development, Srimati J. Chinjurani, is here on the dais. I welcome Honorable Minister. Honorable Deputy Speaker, Sri Chitayam Gopakumar, is here with us. I welcome Honorable Deputy Speaker, Sri Chitayam Gopakumar. Last but not the least, I accord a hearty welcome to Honorable Ministers from various states and Honorable Ministers of State Cabinet of Kerala, Honorable Members of Parliament, MLAs, MLCs from various parts of our country. Your active involvement and wholehearted participation will make this conference a historic event. I am sure that the discussions and brainstorming sessions of this conference will make significant contributions in streamlining policy interventions and improving legislative initiatives in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Shri V.D. Sadeshanji, Honorable Leader of Opposition of the Kerala Legislative Assembly, to address the gathering.
Honorable President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovindji, Honorable Governor of Kerala, Sri Arif Mohammed Khanji, Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, Honorable Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, Sri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Minister Srimati Chinju Rani, Honorable Deputy Speaker Sri Chittem Gopakumar, and all other distinguished guests on and off the dais, and my dear friends. It is a great privilege for me to be here. Let me on the onset itself greet and congratulate all the women legislators who have come to Kerala to attend this conference. Kerala and this assembly are indeed honored to host you all. The world and our country are going through troubled and challenging times. War, climate change, terror, poverty, diseases are serious realities we face. Along with all this, we find the terrible way in which women, minorities, and differently abled are marginalized and silenced. At every given opportunity, we discuss about problems faced by women in India, the discrimination they encounter, and the threats they have to face. The obvious question that comes to mind is how the women of India can come out of these problems. Education, economic independence, and equal opportunity are the answers. These things are ensured by our Constitution. In spite of these constitutional rights and legal protection, why are our sisters being subjected to so much hardships? You, the women legislators, are part of the answer. Political empowerment is a logical and long-lasting method to empower those who are in a disadvantageous position economically and socially. Being political is not just being affiliated to an ideology or a party. It is a state of mind where you think independently and take a very pro-people, pro-poor stand. It's a state of mind where you have a well-thought-out opinion and relate yourself with the wider society. It's an action plan for minimum common good. It's a way of life where you put people around you first and then this country above everything else. When you become a people's representative, your responsibility is double. So also is your opportunity to influence the way this country is being run. So it is of pivotal importance. And women came out in large numbers to be active participants in politics and in governance. That process itself will bring in a huge revolution. It will also ensure protection and equal status to our less fortunate sisters, but also for all less fortunate sections of our society. Women, whether they are teachers, doctors, nurses, or politicians, seem to have more connect with people around them, and you have a wonderful talent to challenge the way things are planned and carried out. You bring in fundamental change to society, and you can root out the redundant and meaningless elements with such power and precision that the change you can bring it can be so deep and everlasting. India at this juncture of her history needs more and more people like you, women legislators. We need more women members in our state legislative assemblies. We need more women in our parliament. The revolutionary enactment brought in by Sri Rajiv Gandhi ensured 33.33% representation for women in panchayats and municipal corporations. I'm happy to say that Kerala made it 50% reservation. It has brought in commendable changes in the way our local bodies are run. It has also brought in tremendous changes to the lives of hundreds of thousands of women. This process has to go forward. The more the women in public life, it means more human element in politics and governance. More women in legislative assemblies mean more consideration for weaker sections and much more care to our environment, and resources, because women are better and kinder managers. In this era of blatant communalism and divides, the more our sisters come to the forefront of our public life, these dangerous and nasty trends will come down, because women understand the ugly way these manipulative forces can work and ruin the lives of the coming generations. They can resist and finish off these dark forces waiting to ruin the very idea of India. Here I would like to remember the hundreds of women who laid down their lives for the freedom of our country. Let us pay our respects to great souls like Kasturba Gandhi, Sarojini Naidu, Indira Ji, and many, many more like them, Aruna Asaf Ali, Ammu Swaminathan, etc. So many are there. Let those lights guide us. Dear sisters, you are stronger and deeper than us men. You have the capacity to endure and win, and you alone can shape future in the fundamental sense. I salute you and wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. May I now request Srimati J. Chinchurani ji, Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry, Dairy Development and Zoo, Government of Kerala, to address the audience.
Honorable President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovind, Honorable Governor of Kerala, Sri Arif Muhammad Khan, Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, Honorable Speaker, Kerala Legislative Assembly, Sri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Leader of Opposition, Sri V.D. Sadishan, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Kerala Legislative Assembly, Sri Chittem Gopakumar, other honorable guests present here, and dear respected ladies, good morning to all. The National Women Legislators Congress, organized by the Kerala Legislative Assembly, is beyond doubt a great venture when our country is celebrating its glorious 75th year of independence from the British colonial regime. The great role played by the Indian women in the iconic struggle against the British imperialism can never be forgotten. Their participation in this historic movement is of immense value considering the orthodox socio-political situation of the period. In this occasion, we commemorate the immense courage and sacrifice that they portrayed in the face of battle in independent India. Women were able to play a pivotal role in the various lawmaking bodies. Women also played the roles of President, Prime Minister, Lok Sabha Speaker, and many more, steering the wheel of the Constitution of India. They also were part of many important administrative roles in forming laws of historical importance. When they stand here in this legislative hall, we are reminded of all those fierce women legislators who had made this legislative hall a battlefield with their immense contributions. The first Deputy Speaker of the Kerala Legislative Assembly, Srimati Aisha Bai, the first woman Minister of the maiden Kerala government, Srimati Gauri Amma, and the woman face of fight and reliance, Srimati Rosamma Punnus, should be remembered in this occasion. It is essential that more women should come to the forefront of administrative roles. It gives me pride and joy to be reminded that Kerala is one state which has many women as district collectors, it is necessary that more women should become part of the lawmaking and other democratic bodies. We should be proud of that Kerala has successfully implements 50% reservation for women in the local self-governing levels. Women should start considering their involvement in the lawmaking and administrative activities with more seriousness and responsibility. I am sure that this consortium should be an imminent proof that can acknowledge women's capabilities in law making and administration. This meeting should be able to instill great confidence to the women social workers of India. Therefore, I express my sincere greetings to all the women legislators who have gathered here. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Madam. May I now invite Shri Pinarayi Vijayan, Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, to address the august audience.
Honorable President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovindji, Honorable First Lady of India, Srimati Savitha Kovindji, Honorable Governor of Kerala, Sri Arif Mohammad Khanji, Honorable Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the Kerala Assembly, Honorable Leader of Opposition, Sri V.D. Sadishan, Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Srimati J. Chinchurani, and all other dignitaries on and off the dais, especially the women legislators from around the country. Greetings to you all. It gives us immense pleasure to be able to host all of you here in Kerala. At the outset, let me extend a very warm welcome to all of you to Kerala, God's own country. Jawaharlal Nehru, our former Prime Minister, once said, "You can tell the condition of a nation by looking at the status of its women." Unquote. Several studies have pointed out that the status of women is directly linked to how well they are represented in decision-making bodies. As far as Kerala is concerned, we are one of the few states in the country that has implemented 50% reservation for women in elections to the local self-government institutions. In fact, we are the only state in the country that has reserved 50% of the chairperson positions in LSGIs for women. Therefore, it is the fitness of things that Kerala is hosting this National Women Legislators Conference. In protecting the rights of women, India has come a long way since independence. Yet we have miles to go. As far as Kerala is concerned, in several development indices as well as in indices related to the status of women, we are better off than much of India. Maternal mortality rate for India is 103, whereas it is only 30 for Kerala. Female life expectancy in India is 70.7 years, whereas it is 80 years for Kerala. While only 51.4% of the girls in India enroll for higher secondary education, 83% of the girls in Kerala enroll for the same. Even with regard to wages for women's casual labor, with rupees 406 per day, Kerala fares way better than the national average of rupees 211 per day. It is subsequent to decades of struggles that Kerala has been able to create such a women-friendly atmosphere in the state. Kerala's women have stood fearlessly to secure their rights. Chana revolt, Kallumala Samaram, Tolviragu Samaram, Gosha Bhishkaranam, and Marakuda Bhishkaranam, etc. are worth mentioning. In India's freedom struggle too, Kerala's women played a great role which cannot go unrecorded. Almost a century back, we had a woman representative in the Srimulam Praja Sabha, which was the legislative assembly of the erstwhile princely state of Travancore, when Dr. Mary Poonen Lucas was nominated as its member in 1924. In the 1930s, T. Narayaniyamma, another women member of the Sabha, presented progressive legislation such as the bill to restrict child marriage and widow remarriage bill. Three women of Kerala origin, Ammu Swaminathan, Dakshayani Velayathan, and Annie Masreen, were members of India's Constituent Assembly. In the first Lok Sabha too, which had only 10 women MPs, one was from Kerala. The fact that the historic land reforms bill introduced during the first Kerala ministry was tabled by a woman, K.R. Gauriyamma, needs a special mention. With Kerala's rich history and legacy of mainstreaming women, we are glad to have women legislators from all over India here with us today. It is coincidental that Kerala is hosting this conference when we are celebrating the Silver Jubilee of Kudumbashree, Kerala's prestigious poverty eradication and women empowerment program. With 45.85 lakh women as active members through 3 lakh neighborhood groups, Kudumbashree has immensely helped in enhancing women's intervening capacity through their social and economic empowerment. Ever since 2016, Kerala has made giant strides with regard to women's welfare. We have created a separate Department of Women and Child Development. We have constituted gender budgeting and are moving towards allocating 25% of the state's budget for women. Women are being increasingly inducted into the state police and other public services. Pink Police and Pink Patrol have been made operational specifically to ensure women's safety. A registry of sex offenders has been put in place, making Kerala the first state in the country to have such a registry. Last year, we have made a revolutionary announcement that Kerala will value the labor of women in their homes and constitute a pension scheme for women engaged in household work. Quite often, their services inside the house go unnoticed, and we are determined to put an end to it. Today in Kerala, if a crime is committed against any woman, swift justice is being ensured. Even the high and mighty held responsible are forced to pay for such crimes. Together, Kerala society stands unflinchingly for women's rights and gender justice. As you all know, this conference is being held here as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, a celebration which commemorates Indian independence in its platinum jubilee year. India's freedom was won as a result of struggles spearheaded by various sections of our society, including women. But still, we have not yet achieved a gender-just society. No society can claim to be free if its women are not free. We have a historic responsibility in our hands to ensure that men and women enjoy the same freedoms. And that cannot be achieved without ensuring adequate representation of women in our state's legislative assemblies and the nation's parliament. I hope that this National Women Legislators Conference will be a milestone in that regard, making our freedom truly meaningful. Let us work together to realize a gender-just society. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Shri Arif Mohammad Khanji, Honorable Governor of Kerala, for addressing the August gathering.
Thank you very much. माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी श्री रामनाथ कोविंद जी, Honorable Chief Minister Shri Pinarayi Vijayan, Honorable Speaker Shri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry and Dairy Development Shrimati Chinchu Rani, Honorable Leader of Opposition Shri V.D. Satishan, Honorable Deputy Speaker Shri Chittayam Gopakumar, Honorable Members of Parliament and various legislative assemblies of the country who are participating in this conference. Friends, Ellavarkum Ante Vandanam. I am delighted to be part of the inaugural session of the National Women Legislators Conference, Kerala, organized by Kerala Legislative Assembly as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The event has acquired added significance as our Manniya Rashtrapati Ji graciously consented to inaugurate this conference. On behalf of the people of Kerala, I extend hearty welcome to Rashtrapati Ji and First Lady to God's own country and to this conference of women lawmakers. The Kerala Legislative Assembly, just now pointed out by our Honorable Chief Minister, this state has the unique distinction of starting its business. The Legislative Assembly started its business with a woman minister, Shrimati K.R. Gauriamma, presenting first ever bill in the first ever session of the Assembly in 1957, when the State and Assembly came into existence. Through this conference, Kerala Legislative Assembly is reaffirming its commitment to the cause of women empowerment, and I compliment Honorable Speaker Shri M.B. Rajesh for taking lead in organizing this national event. And I remember that few months back, he had also organized an event to honor the current and former members of the Assembly and Parliament as well from Kerala. As a nation, we have always reposed our faith in the abilities of women right from the Vedic times, which had recognized several Rishikas who authored sacred hymns. When we look back about the ancient tradition of India with regard to women's education and participation, then we see empowered and confident women in every sphere of life. The study of our ancient books reveals that, like many others, we also started our civilizational journey with the worship of women. We have an ancient book of Krishna Stuti called Gita Govindam. The very first verse of the book tells us that when the sky is overcast with clouds, when the path ahead of us is strewn with darkness, when we feel that the whole earth is shrunk from under our feet, even the strongest of men, Shri Krishna, becomes timid and fearful and puts himself in charge of Shri Radha. Megher Meduram Ambaram Vanbhuva Shama Tamal Durume Naktam Bhirurayam Tomev Tadimam Radhe Girham Prapaya Itham Nanda Nideshata Chaliteo Pityadva Kunja Durumam Radha Madhav Yor Jayanti Yamna Kule Raha Keliya. Here we see how beautifully the poet is idealizing women power. Now the problem is that we idealize women and stop there. The trouble is we do not really follow it wholeheartedly. We pass resolutions and unfortunately stop there. But I should say, in fairness to our governments, both the central and the state, and our great leaders like Shri Narayan Guru and Saint Chavra and other philanthropic institutions, that they have brought about a renaissance in women's education which helped in changing our attitudes positively. On the subject of gender justice and women empowerment, this ancient tradition of India that viewed women and men being controller of their own destiny found powerful expression in the words of Swami Vivekananda, who said, "No man shall dictate to a woman, nor woman to a man. Women will work out their destiny better than man can ever do for them. All mischief has come because man undertook to shape the destiny of women." We are proud of our nation's collective wisdom in including 15 lady members in the body that drafted our constitution, whereas in older democracies, the women had to struggle for more than a century for getting their right to vote to be recognized by their respective constitutions. Our constitution granted to citizens equality before law, prohibited any discrimination based on factors associated with birth, including gender, affirming the truly inclusive character of our democracy. Such progressive measures have helped women to become equal partners in nation building. However, the paradox is that even after 7 decades of freedom, there are individuals who cultivate romance of regression and seek to marginalize women by imposing patriarchal restrictions on their public appearance and participation in public activities. Such actions violate the basic constitutional rights as well as the laws designed to protect women. We need to take immediate measures to build social, legal, and political sanctions against such persons, and need to always remember that any group of people or even nation that does not march with the spirit of times, they become back numbers. In conclusion, I would reiterate what our Prime Minister has said, that it is time for us to think beyond women development. What we need is to move towards women-led development. Once again, my gratitude to Honorable President for gracing this event and guide us on how to utilize the power of democracy to ensure increased and equitable participation of women in public affairs. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Honorable President of India, Shri Ramnath Kovind ji, for the inaugural address.
Governor of Kerala, Sri Arif Mohammad Khan ji, Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan ji, Speaker, Kerala Legislative Assembly, Sri M.B. Rajesh ji, Minister for Animal Husbandry, Dairy Development and Zoo, Srimati J. Chinchu Rani ji, Leader of Opposition, Kerala Legislative Assembly, Sri V.D. Sathisan ji, Deputy Speaker, Kerala Legislative Assembly, Sri Chittayam Gopa Kumar ji, members of the Kerala Legislative Assembly, distinguished delegates from across the country, ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed both glad and proud to be here among you today. I am glad because I am facing a great gathering that shows the power and potential of India's democracy. I am proud because I am addressing you, the elected women representatives of India, who have chosen to step out and make a difference in a way only you can. Ladies and gentlemen, it is only appropriate that the National Women Legislators Conference is being held when the nation is preparing to commemorate the 75th anniversary of our independence. Under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we have been holding memorial events for more than a year now. People's enthusiastic participation in various functions shows their zeal to connect with the past and rediscover for themselves the foundations of our republic. In the saga of our freedom movement, women played a stellar part. That context adds significance to this conference. India's efforts to be freed from the shackles of an exploitative colonial rule began long ago, and 1857 was one of its early manifestations. Even in the middle of the 19th century, while there were only men on the other side, the Indian side included many women. Rani Lakshmibai was the most notable among them, but there were many more like her fighting bravely against the unjust rule. That period was marked by countless uprisings across the country against foreign rule. They were of local nature, but they were also animated by nationalist aspirations. Equally, they all were marked by women's wholehearted participation in them. Ladies and gentlemen, it was towards the end of the 19th century that the freedom struggle started taking a distinct and formal shape. Gandhiji's return to the motherland in 1915 transformed it into a mass movement. A number of satyagraha campaigns led by him, from the non-cooperation movement to Quit India, had widespread participation of women. Indeed, historians have noted that women from all sections of society came out of their limited domestic spaces and joined public agitations in large numbers thanks to Gandhiji's unique leadership. I would like to add that those agitations were so successful eventually precisely because there was women's participation in them. Among the first women satyagrahis was Kasturba. Given the larger than life personality of her life partner, her own contribution to the nation tends to be ignored. She was not only the better half of the father of the nation, she was an inspiration to many women right from her days in South Africa. Also consider the Salt March to Dandi, the great event that changed the course of history. When Gandhiji was arrested, he chose to pass the mantle of leadership of this campaign to Sarojini Naidu. A great orator and poet, Naidu led by example and gladly faced a jail sentence. And how can we forget her associate, Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay? She was among the first women to contest elections, and she thus lit a torch that you have been carrying forward in India's times, in today's times. When one starts giving examples of women's participation in our national movement, so many inspiring names come to mind that one is able to mention only a few of them. Before this August Assembly of Women Legislators, I would like to recall the historic sacrifices of Madam Bhikaji Kama and of Captain Lakshmi Sehgal and her associates in the Indian National Army led by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Ladies and gentlemen, when the glorious day of freedom came closer and the Constituent Assembly got together to draft a constitution for the nation, we were indeed fortunate to have 15 women members in it, and 3 of them were from Kerala. And their names were mentioned by our Chief Minister. Notable among this group was Hansaben Jivraj Mehta, also a social reformer and educationist. Her contribution to the cause of women's empowerment goes well beyond the boundaries of India. Hansaben was also India's delegate to the UN Human Rights Commission in 1947-48, when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was being drafted. It was due to her intervention that the opening line was changed from "all men are created equal." I repeat it. The original draft was all men are created equal. And at the instance of Hansaben, this was amended to all human beings are created equal. Because human beings include men and women as well. India had then just emerged out of the colonial era. Yet, it is a matter of great pride for us that it was an Indian woman who taught the world the first session in gender equality. Ladies and gentlemen, the sensitivity towards equality of all kinds could only have been achieved due to the freedom struggle. India accomplished a rare distinction of offering universal franchise to all its adult citizens, regardless of any distinctions, right at the inception. Women not only voted in elections, but even contested, and 24 of them were elected to the first Lok Sabha in 1952. They included great freedom fighters like Sucheta Kripalani. Also consider the pace and momentum of women's empowerment. Barely a decade later, in 1963, she became the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, then India's largest state that was larger than most of the nations. I am sure this audience appreciates the significance of that great achievement, and yet it should be highlighted. Women in the world's oldest modern democracy, the United States, had to wait for more than a century after its independence to win the right to vote. Their sisters in the United Kingdom also waited nearly as long. Even after that, many economically advanced nations of Europe refrained from granting voting rights to women. Thanks. In India, however, there was never a time when men could vote but women could not. This, to my mind, shows two things. Firstly, the framers of the Constitution had deep faith in democracy and in the wisdom of the masses. They considered every citizen as a citizen and not as a woman or a member of a caste or tribe, and held that each of them must have an equal say in shaping our common destiny. Secondly, from ancient times, this land has seen women and men as equal indeed, as incomplete without each other. I know of no other civilization that perceives God as Ardhanarishwar, half male and half female. Inspired by our ideas and values, we have gone further during these 7 decades and have provided for 50% reservation for women in local bodies. Calling it women's empowerment is a misnomer, I think, because women are powerful anyway. Don't we say they are a manifestation of Shakti? If facilitating their better participation in political processes is empowerment in any sense, it is empowerment of the whole society, because you all add quality to governance, you help bring focus on issues that matter. Ladies and gentlemen, women are shattering the glass ceiling in one domain after another. The latest is their enhanced role in the armed forces. Their numbers are rising in the traditional male bastions of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and management, collectively known as STEM. There must have been more women than men among the corona warriors who guarded the nation during those months of the crisis. Kerala has always contributed more than its fair share when it comes to healthcare personnel, and women of this state have set an example of selfless care even at a great personal risk during this period of crisis. Such achievements should have been natural for women, who constitute about half of the population. That, unfortunately, has not been the case. We have to admit that they have suffered from deep-rooted social prejudices. their proportion in the workforce is nowhere near their potential. In politics too, there should be far more of you contesting and also winning elections. This sad state of affairs is, of course, a worldwide phenomenon. India has had at least one woman Prime Minister, and there has been one woman too among my illustrious predecessors in Rashtrapati Bhavan, when several nations are yet to have their first female head of a state or government. Putting the matter in global context helps us realize that the challenge before us is to change the mindset, a task that is not easy. It takes immense patience and time. We can certainly take solace in the fact that the freedom movement laid a solid foundation for gender equality in India, that we had a great beginning and that we have already come a long way. The mindset is already changing, and gender sensitivity, including towards the third gender and other gender identities, is advancing rapidly. The government is also doing its best to impart momentum to this trend with focused initiatives like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Over the decades, the state of Kerala too has been a shining example, removing obstacles in the path of women's progress. Thanks to a higher degree of sensitivity among the population, the state has charted new paths in helping women achieve their potential in the spheres of health, education, and employment. This is the land that gave India the first women judge in the Supreme Court, Justice M. Fatima Bibi. It is in the fitness of things that Kerala is hosting the National Women Legislators Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is being held as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. At this historic juncture, we are not only looking back, but also looking ahead. We are now looking forward to the centenary of India's independence in the year 2047. The next 25 years promise to be the auspicious period of Amrit Kal. I am sure this conference will deliberate as much about women's role in the freedom movement as about women's role in nation building over the next quarter century. I now pronounce the concept of power of democracy inaugurated. I hope that this first national conference under power of democracy will be a great success. I congratulate the Kerala Legislative Assembly and its Secretariat for organizing this conference. I also extend my congratulations to all the delegates and invitees present here. I wish you all great success in your endeavors. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Shri Chitayam Gopakumar, Honorable Deputy Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Honorable President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovind, respected Srimati Savitha Kovind, the First Lady of India, Honorable Governor of Kerala, Sri Arif Muhammad Khan, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Speaker, Kerala Vidhan Sabha, Sri V.D. Satheeshan, Honorable Leader of Opposition, Kerala Vidhan Sabha, Srimati Jayati Jurani, Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry, Government of Kerala, Honorable Delegates, Members of Legislative Assembly, invitees, dear friends, officers, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen. I am immensely happy that decision makers of Vidhan Sabha across the nation are here. This is a historic moment for the state and a great occasion to mark Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Equality of women is not just a theme now. It is a global imperative. Let this be a platform to share thought, make an action plan, and refine our mindset. I feel honored and privileged to have the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. All of us are very pleased and honored that Honorable President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovind, agreed to accept our invitation to inaugurate this signature event. On behalf of the Kerala Nema Sabha, I respectfully express my sincere thanks to the Honorable President of India, Sri Ramnath Kovind. My special thanks to Srimati Savitha Kovind, the First Lady of India, for her gracious presence. I, on behalf of the Kerala Vidhan Sabha, convey deep regards and hearty thanks to Sri Arif Muhammad Khan, Honorable Governor of Kerala. I am also very much thankful to Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, Honorable Chief Minister of Kerala, who supported us in all possible manner to organize this dream conference. My sincere thanks to Sri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Speaker, Kerala Vidhan Sabha, for organizing this conference. My special thanks to Sri V.D. Sadishan, Honorable Leader of Opposition, Kerala Legislative Assembly, for this gracious presence. I would like to thank Srimati J. Jinjurani, Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry, Government of Kerala, for being with us today. I would like to thank all the honorable delegates, members of Legislative Assembly, media representatives, and invitees present here. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated staff of the Legislature Secretariat. Thank you, friends, for your involvement and efforts. Thanks to all of you present here for making this event successful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now request all of you to kindly rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभाशिष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे